It's very apparent that wishing, or what is more generally known as rolling the gacha, has been integral to Genshin Impact's monetary success over the past year. So you would think that MiHoYo, the developer that seemingly puts extra polish on every tiny detail in this game, would put a lot of effort into making the wishing process enjoyable. Yet Genshin's wish animation somehow might be one of the most boring that I've ever seen in a gacha game. So I've come up with 5 ideas that are not very original and are definitely taken from other games that could make wishing feel as exciting as it should be. I don't mean to stall, but I think it's important that we start off first with why. Sure, there are other issues in the game that probably need attention more, but wishing really is a core part of the game, not just because it's how the company gets paid, but because it's something that every player does. Unlike other things which notably don't affect the core casual demographic that much, every Genshin player opens up this screen and tries to get the characters they really like. It's not just about the characters themselves though, but also the experience. The tension of if you will get lucky and pull the one you saved up months for, or will you not. These feelings of happiness or sadness that can result are pretty contagious too, which is why it's no surprise that wishing videos are one of the most popular types of Genshin content. Well, and because it's easier to watch other people spend money than to spend it yourself. But now that we've gone through a whole bunch of banners, seeing the same old animation has gotten rather stale when it should be fun. So my aim with these suggestions is to make it so that you don't want to click that skip button after spending your hard-earned Primogems. Starting with what I think needs to be added the most but would also require the most effort, some kind of animation that builds up to the wishing. Technically, Genshin does have this in the brief moments of seeing that colored shooting star, but this has absolutely no character to it. In games about guys fighting, they show you guys fighting. In games about collecting cute girls, that's gonna be the first thing you see. Yet in Genshin, all you get is this. The core concept of wishing on a star is a good starting point, don't get me wrong, but at the very least show the Traveler and Paimon doing it. They're obviously no strangers to making pre-recorded cutscenes as we've seen in the recent event. The only real reason I could think of them not having already added this is because wishing for characters and using them isn't really explained in the lore. But I mean, it can just be one of those things that is part of gameplay and doesn't need elaboration, since, you know, NPCs literally just hand out Primogems for doing menial tasks, so I don't think it would matter that much. Anyways, with this you could also add a bunch of different things to pop up randomly in the background, making it so that even if the contents of the wish itself aren't exciting, the process won't be so monotonous. Furthermore, these would also act as indicators for special cases, like for example pulling a character you don't have yet or pulling multiple 5 stars at once. The point is to add excitement leading up to that special pull, but still keeping the pull itself as the main highlight. On a somewhat related note, our second addition is fake outs. If you're specifically hunting for a 5-star character and you see it go purple, well, you're not really gonna feel any bit of tension or excitement because you know that you won't get that 5-star. That's why a lot of gacha games have fake outs, where it doesn't look like you're going to get something special up until the last possible second. It's like the same feeling you get when you unexpectedly pull a 5-star on low pity, but taken to an extreme. This bit of unpredictability can be really fun and will keep you on your toes at all times. Of course, this does mean that some people may accidentally end up hitting the skip button, but I'd also imagine that they make 5-star pulls specifically still play when skipped due to how rare they are. Alright, now that we've gone over what should happen before the pulls, let's talk about the pulls themselves. This whole thing here is really carried by how good the character designs are and how well made the splash arts are, but the animation is super basic. It doesn't take full advantage of what makes these characters appealing. And since one of the most fan-beloved aspects of a character is their voice actor, why not copy a common gacha trend and insert a quick voice line before they pop up? Ideally, it would be presented in a way that relates to the themes of that character, but if they don't want to put in that much extra work, they could just repurpose that character's name card. Typically, when you pull a character that you've been really looking forward to, you let it sit there a little bit as you take it all in. Now of course the arts are all excellent, but they can be taken a step further. In fact, they already are, but it just isn't shown in game. On the web-based update preview pages and the character demo videos, we can see the splash arts are animated. Granted, they are just kinda subtly moving around as they maintain that one pose, but it does look really cool and breathes just a little bit more life onto the screen. I personally don't know anything about programming an animation like this, but I'd imagine that the most difficult part of the process is what's already been done. Speaking of things that exist but for some reason can't be found inside the game itself, character themes. It's a shame how they don't play during character trial runs or their story quests at all. Also found in the character demo videos, I love how each song clearly relates to their respective character. Klee's is lighthearted and fun, Fischl's is very brooding, Child's is fast and intense, and so on. And not just because I'm desperately waiting for Hoyomix to drop the second character OST album, I really think that Wishing is the best way for them to be incorporated. And then in the character archive, we would hopefully be able to listen to them whenever we want. Alright, so combining all 5 of the things which I have talked about, my vision of a more interesting Wishing experience would look something like this.
Brace yourself! This is gonna hurt!
Altogether, not bad, right? Obviously, this was a bit limited due to my lack of experience editing stuff like this, but I feel that it strikes a good balance of adding flavor without getting too long. But that about wraps it up for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, thanks for watching.